Order. My name is Chuck Corsi, and I'd like to welcome you to this virtual May 17th meeting of the West Hartford Commission on the Arts. Because in-person attendance at public meetings is likely to increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order number 7B, as extended by Executive Order number 9A, which permits municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Commission members and some town staff are participating by WebEx. The public can watch this meeting on Comcast Channel 5, Frontier TV Channel 6098, or on www.whctv.org. With regard to the public comment portion, I wish to first emphasize that phone access to this meeting is only intended for members of the public who wish to actively participate and provide comments. If you are on the phone and you do not plan to speak, please hang up and watch live television on West Hartford Community Interactive, Comcast Channel 49, Frontier TV Channel 6099, or streaming at www.whctv.org. Again, if you didn't plan to comment, please hang up your phone now and instead listen to the hearing on the TV or internet. For members of the public who are still on the phone, please do not mute your device. The meeting moderator will keep everyone's line muted until it is your turn to speak. If you mute your own line, the moderator may not hear your voice when she calls for comment. I will explain how the hand-raising process will work when we begin public comment. Because of the virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before I begin. First, I ask all participants to please mute your devices when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you. If you are participating via audio only and I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then please unmute your phone and let me know so I can recognize you. Second, pursuant to Executive Order 7B, all speakers must state their name and title each time they speak. Third, because of the difficulty in tallying votes on a video conference, all votes must be taken by roll call. I will now call the meeting to order and conduct a roll call, but actually before I do, just a warning for the commission members. Now that it looks like we're coming out of COVID and some of the restrictions, I'll be communicating with you in the near future as to what our plans are for having these meetings live in person. And I'm sure as we make that transition, there will be an option, a hybrid option as well, ultimately going to all in person. So with that, let me take a roll call. Karen Bachman.
Present.
Matthew Bragg.
Here.
Javier Colon. Okay, Chuck Corsi is here. Latanya Farrell.
Here.
Nancy Hoffman.
Here.
Carol McCabe.
Here.
Mirela Sue.
Here.
And Susan Rothenberg.
Here.
Excellent. Now let me see if I can find my agenda. Here we go. Approval of the meeting meetings. The meeting minutes from April 19th. Do I have a motion to approve? See, Sue makes the motion to approve. Is there a second? Karen seconds. Okay. I'll do a quick roll call. Karen Bachman.
Approved.
Matt Bragg. Is that a yes, Matt?
Yes, approved.
Yes. Okay. Javier's not with us. Latanya.
Approve.
Nancy Hoffman.
Approved.
Carol McCabe.
Approved.
Mirela Sue.
Approved.
Susan Rothenberg. I think Sue said yes. And Chuck Corsi, I don't know if I called him myself, but Chuck Corsi says yes too. So motion to approve the meeting passes. Okay. Why don't we jump into old business and committee updates? I I think you all saw the agenda that I had sent over to everyone. We're kind of breaking it up a little bit because there are some really interesting things that we're involved with. I thought we'd go through the committee updates to see if anyone has any update, aside from the events that they're working on. And I'll just say to begin with, I really appreciate everybody stepping in to get involved on different events where we've asked to lend a hand. Partnerships, Mirela and Sue, anything new to report?
No updates regarding the EV Art project. It's still to meet again, and pending
Yeah,
a meeting.
we could talk more about that during the we talk about the events, but I do think that it's I've stressed it's I'm grateful that this is a board of action, but with taking action, sometimes people don't situations beyond our control, it doesn't happen. So I'm always much happier swinging and missing, and maybe than not stepping into the batter's box, if you pardon my stupid sports analogy. The with the EV, I mean, I think there's some internal things going on with Bloomfield, but we'll stay. And I know you'll stay at it, and maybe there's something in the fall. But there's nothing new on communications except the West Hartford site is going to be going live in the coming weeks. Latanya, I don't think you had anything new on the artist outreach.
No, not at this time.
Okay. We'll get into some of the town outreach stuff in the events below.
I will add that there are 10 more people that have joined the list.
That's great.
That's that to add for sure. But we'll talk more.
Great. That's great, Latanya. Matt, thank you for sending over that fundraising document that when and where and how it's appropriate. I think maybe what we should do is have everybody digest that for the next meeting, and I'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting, and we can go through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only comment I wanted to make on it is that it's, this organization does not raise money, nor do we have a treasury. So it's really just to guide us as we help other organizations within our community as representatives of Commission of the Arts to make sure that we're, doing that in accordance with our own rules and the way we want to present ourselves to the town, and mostly just to avoid ourselves getting into snafus.
Yes. Sue? Oh, you're on mute, Sue.
Sorry. Was that a document that Matt sent to everyone? I'll take a look for it. Okay. All right.
It just came. It was, I think, with the last couple hours.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Events, Nancy and Karen. Again, we'll get into the individual events. I know you guys are busy, but anything that's not on the agenda down below under events that you guys want to talk about? Okay, excellent. And Karen, do we have an update from our friends over at the Collaborative?
Well, the update is that we're moving along. I think thanks to your background work, we now have a president, a chair, an assistant chair, and a secretary.
Yes.
President, Tracy Flatter from the Playhouse graciously agreed to take that on for the first term, which roughly is 6 months, I think. And the assistant chair, I don't know her name, Chuck. Do you remember? She's from
Yes,
Symphony.
it's Lindsay Perkins from the Symphony. She's on the board of the Symphony.
Lindsay Perkins. I'll get to learn her name as I meet her more often. And then the treasurer is a guy from Capital Classics, and his name is
Herb
Emanuelson.
Emanuelson.
That's right. So we've yet to have an official meeting with those people in charge, but we are in the works of having that. And it's great news because now we have some leadership and probably won't meet more than twice a month unless something's really happening. But we have 9 members now, I believe. The newest was Capital Classics, and open, I guess, to talking about newer ones coming on.
Excellent. Thanks, Karen. Okay, now let's get into the fun stuff. Event updates. Mirela, do you want to continue with what you were talking about with the Bloomfield EV partnership? Or I don't know if there's much more to add.
I don't think there is much more to add.
No.
So the last we've heard from that committee was in April 19th, and I already update everyone with the progress at that point. So we were to reach out and talk with a person from another organization that offered to sponsor the entire art project. And so far, we did not get that meeting scheduled on our calendar. So as soon as I hear anything, I'll update everyone.
Great. Thanks, Mirela. There was a friend of ours, Stephanie, in Bloomfield. And Stephanie is taking the lead in kind of pulling this project together. And Mirela is doing a great job helping her out and kind of pushing things along. The West Hartford Art League, West Hartford Art Trail. I know we talked a little bit about that at the last meeting. About we have really created a lot of activity for Roxanne at the Art League, and she wanted to catch her breath after the barriers. But Carol, do you want to give us a quick update?
That's pretty much the update because we're waiting until that's completed. Chuck, do you know when that would be a good time? When will she be finished with that, do you think? The Jersey art barriers?
Probably, I'd wait till after Memorial Day. I think she's still going to be busy with other stuff.
But at least we can start maybe meet with her again and come up with a plan. I think, Mirela and Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were thinking about doing it during the holiday stroll around that time. Was that right? Yeah. So that gives us some time, but I know she's got a festival in September, so maybe to catch her in between the barriers and the festival, to at least start planning.
Excellent.
Also, the art camp will be starting soon too, and she gets quite involved in that. So either before the camp starts or once it's, well underway.
Excellent. Thanks, Nancy.
I think that if we start sometime after the camp ends, because people are going to, I imagine, travel a little bit more this summer. So if we start planning for December ahead of time, that would be probably the best and the most helpful to her. So she'll get a sense of what we can do in terms of support. She requested help with organizing, gathering volunteers.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Mirela. Okay, great. I'll pick up on the Jersey barrier painting. We're talking a little bit about before we jumped on the meeting, but the painting of the blueback barriers was done is it yesterday? Today's Monday. Yeah, yesterday, and they look really nice. One of the things that Roxanne was worried about is making sure there's some kind of continuity as you go from barrier to barrier, and it really looks nice and neat. There's not a lot down in blueback, so it was a nice little tease for what we're going to see up on LaSalle and Farmington this weekend. But again, I can't thank Roxanne enough in the Art League. She really picked up the ball and ran with it and did a great job raising money for it. And she's a great advocate for the arts here and a great resource, and does such a great job at the Art League. Anybody have any questions or comments on that?
There were quite a few entries, and it was really hard to decide which ones to choose. So that was good that there was so much interest in the artists. And I stopped by Sunday as they were painting it and met with each of the artists, the designers, and they had a group that were busily following their directions. It was a fun morning to watch how they did it.
Oh, that's great, Nancy. I'm glad you were there.
They had fun.
That's great. Okay.
I've seen the West Hartford Chamber covering the event as it unfolded, which I thought was really, really nice.
Yes.
Yes.
Chamber's really stepped up. I mean, they've always been great, but especially during the pandemic, they've been great in terms of reaching out to members and keeping the community connected. That's great. Mirela, how about this symphony concert, West Hartford Symphony Orchestra concert?
So what we know so far is that we distributed the music, and all musicians are excited, and there's a very, very good vibe going on. I also know that the concert will take place behind the town hall, no longer at KO, due to restrictions that KO had at that moment when had to make a decision. What I understood today from Mr. Sharapa, Lindsay is getting an ad out on Facebook tonight, tomorrow, one of these days. So I think it's going to be very important for all of us to roll with it and maybe distribute to our on our outlets. And that's pretty much it. We're probably going to need to talk about volunteers, and I don't think it's going to be hard to coordinate, but we need another good meeting with everyone, with this committee.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be, you know, one of the concerns there was, especially if Hav was going to perform, was the turnout. It might be more than could be handled. It's my understanding that he, fortunately, is able to go out and work now, and that he won't be participating.
He won't.
Yes.
So the last thing that I've heard today was no. So then we don't think we're at risk of overflowing town hall parking lot. I think it's going to attract a very, very good crowd, but
Yes.
I think we're good.
It's not going to be Fire Fest.
No, and it's fair, it is a free event, so people are free to come and go, keeping the distance that they're comfortable with. I think, yeah, it is something that it's still very possible, and everyone shall decide for themselves.
Great. Matt, I was thinking when I got your email today and saw what you had proposed, I was very happy that, because Rich had asked to ask for my help in trying to identify some sponsors of the event. And the board chair of the symphony, Tom Carr, was under that. He thought this was a West Hartford Commission of the Arts event. And, I reminded him this was not a West Hartford Commission of the Arts event. It's a symphony event, but we're happy to help in any way that we can. I'm helping them with getting some media coverage in the next week also, so that we can get the word out. But I told them that I'd help them find sponsors, but that is it's not the job of the Arts Commission to raise their money, but I'm happy to help them identify some sponsors. And if my help, gets them what they need, then that's great. It's not going to be a huge budget. that they're working with. I think it's about $1,500. So we'll make it happen. But I was glad that I followed your rules. It must have. I was thinking of you when I was talking, and I was like, okay, what would Matt?
What would Matt do?
Yeah, what would Matt exactly? Okay. Anybody? Any other questions on the symphony orchestra? Yes, Karen.
The unmuting is always my demise there. What time is the event planned for?
So we will,
Great.
no, 4. We will
4.
have a rehearsal, one and only. One rehearsal from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., then an hour of break. And then at 4 o'clock, we'll perform.
Excellent.
Good, thank you.
For about an hour, I would say.
Yeah.
A little bit over an hour.
That's exciting. I can't wait. Karen, well, we got you on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about our conversation we had with the folks at the WEHa Artist Emporium and
Sure.
work with the Art Trail?
Of course, I have misplaced my notes, and people's names, their last names I don't have, but I was contacted by, her name is Stephanie, and she has 2 last names, but she's sort of the coordinator along with another woman, Julie, of WEHa's Artist Emporium. They've been around for a couple of years. They're the group that had sponsored the Stones. They were they were artistically made, and they were sprinkled all over town like a scavenger hunt. They also have sponsored pop-up markets, especially in the holidays. Of course, not this year. And last year, they they had an art trail. They're calling it an art trail. It's basically the members of this organization. It's not a nonprofit. It's not a 501c3, but they are loosely organized. But I believe they have meetings and make decisions because they're there to support the different, mostly craftspeople. I think there are some artists who, work in paint. In fact, we talked to one, and the other woman, Julie, was an illustrator who did some work in paint. But I know from a fact, because I've gone to 1 or 2 of their markets, that there are other craftspeople who work in pottery, photography. Somebody makes these great candles. They're I forget the name of her business, but they're the wooden, they burn like wood inside, the wick sounds like wood when it's burning, and the smell's lovely. And let's see, I have a friend who makes, I don't know what you call it. She makes, it's jewelry that is done with a silicone, I think. And she also makes a lot of other items that she uses that same craft, or resin. Anyway, there's a big variety of people in the organization, and they are sponsoring, and they have their information out now. You can find it on their Facebook and on their Instagram. They're sponsoring this trail on June 5th. And the reason I asked about the time of the concert, I think their event is just about over by 4 o'clock. I don't know the exact time, but it's one of those where they will have maps that go out. In fact, the maps are about to go out on social media, and you follow the maps. And the people who are participating, the craftspeople this time, they're roughly, I think she said, in the Morley district and the Whiting Lane district. So it's not a big spread. It's not all over town. And they did that so it was easier for, the people to come and look. They had a very successful, this model was very successful in the fall. I was away, so I hadn't gone. And they're hoping that this will be a success for the craftspeople. A way they can sell their items and get their name out there and get their websites and emails out there. And it's interesting that it coincides. I wasn't paying attention to that date so much. It coincides with the same day that there's this other musical celebration going on. So kind of neat. It's kind of a day of the arts.
Yes.
So Chuck and I, he said the best way for me to introduce him to this group was to have a meeting. So we kind of rushed and had a meeting last week, and they shared some of their ideas with Chuck. Chuck shared some of his ideas with them, how to promote the event. Chuck knows a lot of people out there and gave them some ideas of people to talk to, like Chris at the chamber, so they could, get some more visibility. And let's see, there was a third thing I wanted to say about that. So we're kind of in conversation about how we can support them. They're doing a fine job themselves through social media. That's their main way that they get their word out. But they also have they had a nice article in WEHa. Ronnie Newton supports them. So when she can, she writes something about their events, and they're hoping to get something in the Current. And Chuck was talking about how to frame your story. And I'm thinking about, I wish someone would cover, the special day that June 5th is going to be for arts in our town, sort of a grand opening. So I hope you'll support them. I guess we'll continue to talk to them a bit as they continue to open up and run events and see. They were glad to know about us, and certainly glad to meet Chuck because he had lots of ideas for them. So I guess that's the whole thing, unless you can think of something else I didn't cover.
Well, yeah, one other thing was we encouraged them I introduced them to the collaborative, to
Yes.
Tracy, because they would be a great addition. And I said, I emailed, connected the two of them with Tracy and Lindsay and Herb. And one of my reasons for connecting them with Chris Conway at the Chamber is, again, the Chamber has been leading the effort for the new website, the Why West Hartford, and I wanted to make sure that they got included in that so that they could market themselves. I'm hoping. I reached out to Stephanie, and I'd love to try and get them some additional media coverage. Yeah, the thing about media coverage is there's so many great events going on all over. An event by itself kind of gets lost. It's when you can tie an event with a story about a real person. That's what sells. People love hearing about people's story. So that's what I'm trying to do with them. And people are reluctant sometimes. They're shy, which is understandable. Mirela, I saw your hand up.
Yes, I was thinking. So the name of the lady is Stephanie Marco Lance.
That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And I was thinking, and I just checked on Facebook right now, and their event runs from 11 to 3, so it's perfect because people will have time to come from wherever those 6 locations are back to the town hall. And I was thinking, Chuck, that if we end up maybe going for a small interview with Better Connecticut, or a segment somewhere, perhaps Stephanie and Mr. Sharapa and you could go together and promote the day of the June 5th, which covers more than just the concert.
Yeah.
It's an idea, if that will ever be possible.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a very good idea. Well, Nancy, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I was looking at the calendar and thinking this is I hate to say a good substitute, but a good time to have the music and the arts, because this normally would be the weekend for Celebrate West Hartford.
Yes,
which
that's
is music and arts and so forth.
That's why they chose it. Yes.
I do hope that comes back because I thought that was a great community offering.
It is.
Yeah.
Fortunately for all of us, it falls outside of our jurisdiction. That's Helen Rubino Turco does a great job. Her and her staff and tons of volunteers do a great job with that every year, and I'm sure it'll be back. But gotta safety first. It takes a long time to plan those too, and you can't possibly know. I mean, you got to start planning months out. Similar with the Memorial Day Parade, you can't just do that in a couple of weeks.
They were on a good roll with the Celebrate West Hartford. How many years did that run until the pandemic?
30.
Yeah.
I remember when it was just like a petting zoo and a couple of booths.
That's right.
Yeah.
No Ferris wheels and stuff. Yeah, it's great.
I think that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anyone off there. I thought you were finished. I think this points to that need for a calendar. You got two events going on June 5th, and they're not interfering with each other. They complement each other, but without somewhere that people can sort of know to tune in, they would know maybe we'll stay home on June 5th and not go to the beach because these two things are happening. So I'm hoping we see something that might come up through that website, because I really do believe we're in need of a community calendar.
Absolutely.
Well, don't forget the collaborative. That's part of the collaboratives. They're putting together a calendar also. So that should be something to be discussed at the next collaborative
I'll bring it up
meeting.
there too. Yeah.
Because I know we had that discussion a couple of months ago that we can't. We don't have a website where we can do that in the town. I believe that the new Why West Hartford website is going to be a lot more streamlined in terms of getting information about West Hartford out in a clear and concise way. Because right now you have so many different, the library does a good job of getting their information out. The different neighborhood groups do. It'll be good to have it all right there. Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this is the time to bring it up because you have it on later in the agenda, but Stephanie did say she wished there was a kiosk or a large space where organizations could post, a little like if you've ever been to Boulder, Colorado, there's big round places. I remember talking to our new town manager, Matt, about this, because there's so little space on the green for banners. Only 2 people at any given time can have a space there. And this time of year, there's lots going on. Christmas is the other time, during that holiday section between Thanksgiving and December 25th. So that was an idea she had, and I wondered if somehow we could get behind that or bring that up to the powers that be, that start thinking about some other public way besides an internet that people can post a flyer or you walk by and you see things. It was a great idea, for her to bring up, I thought.
Yeah. I thought I put it on the agenda for something, I'm glad you mentioned it now, Karen, that I'd ask people to think about that for our next meeting and what that might look like. Because unfortunately, Rich had asked about getting a banner up for the concert on June 5th, and no room at the inn. There was no space left on Unity Green for a banner. So those go quickly. So there's got to be, and the banners are great, but maybe there are other ways that we can, and not just in West Hartford Center, but then maybe in Bishop's Corner on Park Road and in Elmwood, that there's some convenient location where people can post posters or about concerts that are coming up. Maybe if folks want to do a little research on their own and look at just do a couple of searches about, well, Karen mentioned Boulder. What do they do in Boulder? What do they do in? It'd be interesting to see what do they do in Northampton or other art communities in terms of the old-fashioned posting things, real things.
I'll volunteer to go to Boulder.
There you go. I'll have Matt cut you a check from our budget to cover the cost of your flight. For those folks listening at home and didn't hear our earlier discussion, the Arts Commission has no budget and we spend no money. That was an attempt at humor.
A billboard would be nice. One of those electronic changing billboards, not the size of the ones that we see on the side of the highway, but maybe that I'm just throwing an idea, but that would definitely be able to host multiple, many more events that are happening at the same in the same weekend or same day, and that's just.
I love that.
Yeah.
I actually have heard Matt, our town manager, talk about that. He asked me what I thought about that kind of a thing. It hasn't occurred, I guess because it's not a priority right now, but you wonder about where it goes so that traffic doesn't slow down in order to read it. But like yeah,
Yeah, just above the place where the banners are right now, and that intersection.
I love that. And it could also put out other information, get, free COVID shots at whatever. I don't know. The creative juices are going with everybody. So we'll talk about that at the next meeting. People can give it some thought and can also think of a plan about, once we have some ideas, what do we do with them? And I'll come up with some, everybody should feel free to come up with suggestions on that as well. All righty, moving down the list. We've got two celebrations that we were asked to help out with, Juneteenth and West Hartford Pride Day. Carol, do you want to talk a little bit about Juneteenth and now?
Sure.
We've been the art show.
The art show. So the commission has been asked to help out two groups, the Juneteenth committee and Gay Pride. So Chuck and I met with both groups, and we're basically putting on an art show. Well, Chuck has volunteered us, which was very nice. So the Juneteenth.
Wait a second. I think they volunteered us.
They volunteered us. They volunteered us. That's true. They did. So the Juneteenth art show is going to take place on June 5th. So there's another activity on June 5th. It's going to start June 5th, and it's going to run for 2 weeks till the festival or the celebration on June 19th. So it'll run for those 2 weeks. And Chuck put together a submission application, I guess you'd call it, for anyone out there who wants to participate. And these artists, whoever, Chuck, I don't know where you're sharing it or where you put it on Facebook.
It's a couple of things. Ronnie did a story about it. And there's about 5 different active Facebook groups. There's the Arts and Culture Collaborative. They have about 800 followers. There's the women we were just talking about, Stephanie, WEHa Artist Emporium. They have a huge following. And then there's also some other, community-wide arts organizations. Yeah.
So these artists will submit their works. They'll be displayed at the library. I think all through the I don't know, not the children's section, but upstairs will be displayed.
Yes.
And their works will be for sale as well.
Yeah.
From what I understand. And the theme is for people of color.
Yeah. The Juneteenth art show, actually the call for artists is for artists of color. And it's not just West Hartford artists, it's any artists in the greater Hartford area or anywhere else if they hear about it. And the theme is, celebration, pride, unity. We've already had about 6 people sign up, which is pretty cool. And expect more. But the exhibit, depending on how many we get, there's on the first floor of the library, in the west central, by the old entrance. If anybody that was around can remember the old entrance, when you come in, it's a large art gallery they have in there that they set up for exhibitions, not just for art, but for other things. And if we get more entries, they'll place it throughout the library. The staff is Carol Waxman, the interim library director, and her staff have been very generous to help us with this. You know, I don't think, Carol, you or I have ever done something
Like this?
put together an art show, but
I think it'll be.
yeah, it would be great. We're trying, you know, we've made, you know, art is dropped off on this day as the installation goes up, and then they have to pick it up at a certain time. And but
Well, they run back to back. So when Juneteenth art show is finished, then the Gay Pride one will start. So that's the last week. I think it's the 20th to the 26th. So we met with them as well. And so that's an art show as well, but a different type. It's a youth art show. So it's kindergarten through 12th grade. And artists in that age group are encouraged to submit their artwork. And that will be displayed for that week. In the same manner, right? In the same location, right, Chuck?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And the theme for that, it's actually the call is for children from LGBTQ families, and their arts theme is my family.
Yeah.
So that'll be great. And again, if people want to put a price on them and sell their art, they're free to do that individually. The Arts Commission's not buying anything.
No.
I just want to make sure Matt was happy. Any questions about those two? Yes, Karen.
So the two of you are helping the organizations run the events. Is that what you're saying? Because I can already see things you need to have.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so we may need some help with that.
Okay.
Now the Juneteenth is being installed on June 4th at the library. But Chuck also says, you know, the staff of the library will be helping as well, but to install it.
And we limited the size. I mean, an artwork, it's got to be something that can fit on an easel. It's
no
size has to be 30 by 22. I think that was the size, or less. Artists are going to supply their own easels to display their artwork, but if they can't, he doesn't know it yet, but my buddy at Jerry's Autorama is going to sponsor this and just supply easels to people who need them. No, I talked to Jerry. I'm sure he'll be very generous. But you know, we're trying to, again, this is the first time we're doing this, and you know, we're not going to let great be the enemy here and like try and do this perfectly. We're going to try and do it as best we can. But like anything else, if you know, we'll build upon it next year if they want to do it again, and the year after that, and the year after that. But and it is a little short notice, but I think it's important that we, you know.
I think it's manageable. I think it was good that they, you know, asked for our help.
Yes.
So we have a purpose.
Any other questions? And if anybody wants to help out on any of these things, these things they just kind of come up out of, you know, somebody calls Karen and says, Karen, can you help me with this? Or, you know, like Mirela and Rich on the symphony. Anybody wants to jump in and help on any of these projects, love to help. Or if you think of others, you know, please let us all know. We can, you know, we're not going to, you know, when things come to us and people ask for help, if we can, I think we should help. That's what we're here for. Okay, if there's nothing on, and no other questions on our art shows. Yeah, I have Make Music Day. I spoke with Kristen Gorski from the town and a gentleman from, I want to call it LaSalle Music because that's how I remember it, but Music and Arts at the corner of LaSalle and Farmington Avenue, and they're working with the library as they have in the past on Make Music Day. And it's this year he's trying to put something together at the corner there of LaSalle in Farmington. And we Kristen asked that we meet and talk with him, and it sounds like he has some great ideas and a great plan. And again, it's not our event, and I said whatever we can do to help. So I'm sure as we get closer to that, if they need our help or assistance, we're here to help. Yes, Mirela.
So will they just supply the instruments or bring groups on that corner to perform? Is that?
Yeah, yes. That's not, I don't think there's going to be in the past, I think they did huge orchestra, with kids when they brought in different things. It didn't sound like that was the direction he was heading in, but by, having other performers come and perform, something that we might as a commission take up, and I'll warn you, it's very controversial, is buskers, and whether or not the town should have a policy on performers in public areas. I think they add a lot of vibrancy to areas, but I can see how other people, particularly if you're a store owner, I can see concerns from them and other folks. But we don't have to get into that now, but I think that's a natural for this. As people come out of COVID and people want to perform, people want to share their art, I think that's something that at some point, I think there already is a policy and it's not allowed, that you have to get a permit. I could be wrong on that, but maybe that's something at some point in time that this commission tries to help out the town with finding some common ground. That was a long answer to your question, Mirela. I'm sorry. Okay. Any other?
I guess
Yes,
that could
Nancy.
also you talk about on the corner lead to street actors, jugglers, or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I don't mean to get too far ahead of ourselves on this, but I know that that's something that isn't really allowed. It's like anything else; people kind of do it anyways, and I don't think it's a problem, but at some point it may be a problem.
Yeah.
What if
Not
two
a problem
people? Yeah. But I just, if there is a solution or something that needs to be worked out or a plan to make it, I think that's a role that this commission can play. Not tonight, though. Anything else on our events? And again, if you know of anything anywhere else in town in West Hartford, especially some of the, there's a lot going on in the center of town, but and to anyone listening, also, I'd encourage you to reach out to us. There's some really cool stuff. The women that Karen and I spoke to talked about their some of their displays in collaboration with the Gastro Park, which I think is really cool. And that's a good segue into the other things that Karen had brought up, the one about posting notices. The other is the farmers market on LaSalle Road is very popular. These folks were saying we should have like an artist exhibit, not as much like art markets where people can go to buy crafts and paintings, and maybe how is how the farmers market sets up at LaSalle. Maybe there's another place in town that, something like that could happen that is arts and culture related. So that's something else. Yeah, I'd like you guys to think about that also between now and. Yes, Karen?
She mentioned the Coventry. I've actually asked a few people about it. The Coventry Farmers Market. I guess it's a fabulous farmers market. I'm not sure if it's up and running yet, but it happens on Saturdays. And it's that model where there are produce from local farms, but there are also there's food trucks or food stands, and there's also vendors with their wares, their crafts that they make. She mentioned it as a model, and that sort of thing doesn't need to happen every Saturday, but it could be planned for certain Saturdays.
Yeah.
It would be good for the businesses. It would be good for restaurant. They can just see how it might be great. Chuck mentioned a couple other locations. I don't know, but we should talk about it.
There's a great farmers market, craft fair, food up at Norfolk, and they also have a group playing music, and that's a great one. And we could do something like that in West Hartford.
I think it would be great. I think for something like that, I think the LaSalle Road is that parking lot's just too small, and you've got a lot of traffic around there, and parking issues on those Saturdays, anyways. But I think that would be a fabulous thing. Yes, Carol.
Or even like town hall parking lot, because on the weekends it's not that filled, is it? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's a bigger,
great idea.
Area.
Again, let's think about that. And I'll send everybody a follow-up email on some of these things. And again, to the 5 people that may be watching us at home, if you have any ideas on this, and you'd like to get involved in on a project like this, or if you have an idea for another arts or culture project, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you and hear more about it. So we've got a couple of things, a little bit of homework for our next meeting. We've got everybody's going to read up on Matt's proposed policy. People are going to think about public notices about arts and culture events and things. I do like that bill. I like that electronic. It sounds we got to think of a better way to name it. Electronic billboard might scare some folk, but something that can be changed regularly. And then the venues and what a possible outdoor farmers market / artist craft market might look like, and where something like that might be appropriate. Any questions on that? Any of that?
I wonder if
Miss Nancy?
something like that could be held in one of our parks.
Yeah, that's a great idea too.
The parking
That's a great
might
idea
be
too.
a problem with some of them, yeah.
Yeah. All good things. Write those down. We'll discuss them all at our next meeting. And again, if anybody wants to send us in anything, you can always go to the town website. And we don't have a website of our own, but if you go to the town website under commissions, we are there, and you can email us. People in the community can email us if they'd like. We have no reports to receive. I'm not sure if we have anybody on the phone for public comment. Do you know, Megan, is there anybody on the phone that wants to speak with us?
No, there's nobody on the line right now.
Boy, they're missing out. Okay. Well, unless anybody has anything else they'd like to bring up or discuss, I think, and I don't think we need a vote for it. Does anybody have any objection if we adjourn at 7:27? See a lot of shaking hands. Latanya, you want to stay for another hour or no? All righty. Well, thank you everyone for all your hard work. I love serving with all you guys. This is a great group, and you guys are doing great work for a great town. All righty. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.